Hi, welcome back, guys. This is your friend, the Moma Fanfics, back with amazing fanfiction. This is this series of What If Deku Fight against Katsuki for Hospital Challenge. I'm going to the hospital. Red Riot, or just Kirishima Izuku, stared at his best friend and fellow pro hero for a second before he started laughing. Oh my god, he exclaimed between laughs. For a second, I thought that I heard you saying that you were going. But Bakugo Katsuki, or Pro Hero Ground Zero, was glaring at him, unamused. To the hospital. Kirishima looked at him as if he grew another head. Where are you going? The disbelief at his tone of voice annoyed the explosive hero. Did I fucking stuttered? I said that I'm going to the hospital, Bakugo hissed, a frown at his face. Did that villain? The red-haired hero pointed at the villain that the police were about to transport. Hit you in the head? Are you okay, Bakugo? Do you have a concussion? Shut up, shitty hair, Bakugo snapped, a vein pulsing on his forehead. I'm fucking fine. So why are you going to the hospital? Kirishima couldn't help but sound desperate. Something must be wrong with Bakugo, as there was no other explanation for his sudden decision to visit the hospital. And this time, Katsuki stopped talking, yelling for a moment. I got some bruises to take care of, he finally answered. And I have to take off the stitches. Bruises and stitches. Kirishima scanned the area, looking for any signs of unusual activities. Some police officers were departing with the villain that they just defeated, while others continued at the crime scene to take care of the curious public that was still around, trying to record or take photos of him and Bakugo that were still there. Nothing strange, that's why he was worried. Nothing was signaling that the world was ending, because Bakugo Katsuki, Pro Hero Ground Zero of all people, wanted to go to the hospital of his own free will. What happened with the usual? Hell no. I don't need to go to the fucking hospital. It's a waste of my fucking time. Red Riot stated with his best imitation of Katsuki's loud voice. And damn, if Mina, Kaminari or Suro were there, they would agree that he did a good job. Fuck you, shitty hair. It's none of your fucking business if I go to the hospital or not, Bakugo retorted sharply. But bro, an exasperated Kirishima protested. You never go to the hospital willingly. Even if you're bleeding like an open tap, we have to force you to go there. So what? Shouldn't you be happy that I'm actually going there for once? I'm fucking tired of you guys tearing my ears off. That's why I am going to the hospital now. Bakugo threw his arms in the air as a sign of irritation. And before Izuku could say another word, Katsuki turned around and stormed out of there, leaving a dumbfounded Red Riot behind. The world will end at the next hour, the red-haired man thought, before grabbing his phone and sending a message at a group chat. Class A Madness group chat. Tuesday, May 20th, 2020. Red Riot. Bakugo went to the hospital of his own free will. 2:15 p.m. Red Riot. The world will end at the next hour. 2:15 p.m. Red Riot. If you don't want to have any regrets, go and do whatever you need to. 2:15 p.m. Red Riot. Now. 2:16 p.m. Cellophane. Well, shit. There's no way that I will get a girlfriend in the next hour. 2:20 p.m. Uravity. Nuo. I still haven't tried the new matcha shop near the station. 2:23 p.m. Shouto. Okay, let's just spend every cent that my father has on his bank account before the world ends. It would be a waste of money to leave it untouched. 2:25 p.m. Ingenium. I don't have regrets. 2:26 p.m. Chargeable. At least someone is gonna die happy. 2:31 p.m. Pinky. Why Blasty decided that going to the hospital now is a good idea. 2:33 p.m. Pinky. Last time that I saw him, he gave me the middle finger just because I said the word hospital. 2:33 p.m. Pinky. What the hell? Kirishima. 2:34 p.m. Red Riot. I don't have any idea. 2:35 p.m. Ground Zero. Fuck you dipshits. 2:54 p.m. It started a week before. Bakugo Katsuki hate hospitals. It was a waste of his time. If he was actually bleeding like a rare burger, or if he broke a bone, or if one of his organs were damaged, yeah, hospitals were okay. But right now, he just have a small gash, not so small, on his left arm, and another one on his chest, and again, not a small gash, so he was fine. He could take care of himself at the agency, buy some supplies from the pharmacy near his apartment on his way home, and he would be all good to work next day. But Nuo, the bastard that he called best friend since high school, Kirishima fucking Ijiru, forced him to go to the hospital, promising that he would take care of the paperwork at the agency, while Katsuki was stuck at the hospital emergency room. Fucking waste of time. The ash-blonde man muttered impatiently. He was sitting at one of the beds designated just for heroes in the emergency room, waiting for a doctor or nurse, he didn't care, to show up and patch him. But he was there for 10 minutes, and no one came yet. He could see the staff running around the emergency room. Civilians and heroes were coming in, ones in better conditions than others. But judging from his own experiences, Katsuki knew that those people would be okay soon. He huffed when another 5 minutes went by. He stood up. I'm getting out of here. No, you're not going anywhere. Pro Hero Ground Zero. When he turned his head, red eyes met vibrant green ones, and for a split second, Katsuki thought that those were the prettiest eyes that he ever saw. Standing at the feet of his bed was a small green-haired woman around his age wearing a white coat. Her long green curls were tied in a ponytail. Her slightly pink cheeks were full of freckles, and a small smile was playing in her lips. She was cute, even beautiful, Katsuki could admit it in his head. Yet, that was for just a fleeting moment. He quickly shook off that thought, replacing it with a snarl directed at the woman. And who do you think you are to stop me from leaving? She arched an eyebrow, amused. For starters, a doctor. Well, duh. Bakugo rolled his eyes. I'm not fucking blind. But you still asked anyway. Don't you know what a rhetorical question is? Is that supposed to be a rhetorical question too? This time Katsuki glared at the doctor, but she had the nerve to smile and push him to sit at the bed again. Sassy woman. Okay, let's check your injuries, Ground Zero-san. The woman continued, not even a little bit fazed by his glare, as she took his left arm to inspect the injury. Bakugo had wanted to shake her hand off of him, but he gave up. Her touch was soft and warm, and without his permission, his body relaxed at the sensation. Her green eyes looked up from his arm to his injured chest. Part of his hero costume got torn by the villain's attack, so it was easy to see the gash. But being under the inquisitive Viridian eyes, Katsuki felt naked. Not that he was ashamed of his body. Fuck. He was hot as hell. His half-naked photos and magazines were proof enough. Yet, he felt warm. His face felt a little bit warm too. For some reason he was embarrassed, and his copying mechanism for that was anger. No big deal, he grumbled. No big deal, the doctor repeated, unamused. Really? The wound on your chest is large, not deep, but still needs a lot of attention. Also, your arm will need stitches. See? I am not dying. That's your standards. What? He snapped. Bloody mess sounds better for you. The green-haired woman rolled her eyes, turning around to open a small cabinet beside the bed to get some ointment, bandages, and supplies to stitch and sterilize her patient's arm. Sir. Don't call me sir. I am 25. Ground Zero-san. She tried again. Don't you have a fucking medical record with my name? She smiled. A fake business type of smile. Ground Zero. The doctor said it was clear that now she wouldn't call him by his name. Stay still for a few minutes, and I promise that you will be out of the hospital before dinner." They looked at each other in a silent war. But in the end, Bakugo sighed and extended his arm. The earlier he left this hell hole, the better. "Fine, just do it." "Good." And 40 minutes later, just as promised, the doctor was giving him a paper to sign so he could leave the hospital, chest and arm covered in bandages, and a medicine prescription for pain in hands. "See, not so bad," she said, a smile on her lips. "Took you 40 minutes to discharge me." The pro hero complained, eyes checking the new bandages. "If you stopped moving and complaining, I would end in less than 20 minutes. Also, I told you that you would leave before dinner. I fulfilled my promise." The green-haired woman rebuked, eyes scanning the papers that Katsuki signed just to make sure that everything was okay. "Don't be such a baby. What did you fucking call me now?" A vein of irritation popped in his brow. "Brat." Yes, his older teacher, Aizawa Shouta, or just a racehead. And his mother still call him that. But baby? Fucking hell, no, baby. No one, not even his own parents, had called him baby. Who the hell this woman thought she was? "Oh, and you need to come back next week to take the stitches off." She ignored the blonde man, giving him more instructions. "Don't ignore me. But if the stitches come off before, it's also okay. Hey, just come back next week so we can check if your wounds are healing well." There was a bursting feeling at Katsuki's chest. He was one word from snapping at the green-haired doctor, who looked really amused by his glare and reactions. Maybe his 3 years in the UA, his job as a pro hero under Best Jeanist, and years of therapy to control his anger had softened him, because this woman wasn't afraid of his glare at all. Or she just has a death wish. Whatever. "I will see you next week, Ground Zero." She smiled. "Hell no," he exclaimed. "I will go somewhere else to take off the stitches. No way that I'm coming back to this shithole." The doctor crossed her arms and arched a green eyebrow, unimpressed. "Seriously? I don't say shit that I don't mean." She placed her hands on her hips and sighed. "Well, okay." And Katsuki was surprised by the answer. "Okay," he repeated. "Wasn't that too easy?" "Yeah, okay," she continued. "I didn't know that I scared you that much." Katsuki stayed quiet for a moment, processing the woman's words. Did she just say, "Fuck you," he snapped, piercing red eyes glaring daggers at the doctor who was giggling at him. "Who would be scared of a stupid broccoli like you?" "Whoa, that's mean." She didn't sound offended. "I graduated at first place in my class. Also, people say that I am a really cute broccoli, for your information." "Whoever told you that is a fucking liar, or need a good pair of glasses," he retorted, ignoring the "I was first place in my class" part. "I will be here next week." Okay. The green-haired doctor dismissed him with a wave of her hand, and when she was almost out of his line of vision, she completed, "See you next week, if you don't chicken out." "See you next week, if you don't chicken out. I came to take off the stitches." A week later, Bakugo was at the front desk of the same hospital, red eyes glaring at the poor receptionist. Those farewell words, fucking challenging words, were circling his mind for a whole week, and he was ready for another chat with the sassy doctor. What was her name again? Katsuki frowned, and the receptionist, the poor and scared middle-aged woman, started typing faster on the computer, completing as fast as possible his papers for the treatment. He couldn't remember. The damn doctor didn't introduce herself either. Not that it would have mattered. But he was sure that he saw her name tag pinned at her white coat. The second kanji was ku for sure. But the first one was at Deku. Weird name. Who names their kid Deku? But who cares? He didn't. "Hey," he said, and the woman flinched. "Yes, Ground Zero-san. Tell Deku to come take the stitches." Deku," the receptionist stuttered. I'm sorry, sir." but I don't think that we have anyone that goes by Deku working here. The pro-hero huffed. Short woman, green eyes, freckles. Hair is green like a broccoli and sassy as fuck, he described, fingers tapping at the attendance table. Green hair and eyes, freckles. Oh, Midoriya-san. Midoriya, even her name, has something to do with green, Katsuki thought. Okay, I will request that Midoriya-san take care of you, sir. But it may take some time. Don't you prefer the next available doctor? I don't care. The ash-blonde hero cut the woman's sentence, red eyes glaring at her. Tell her to come at me. Yes, sir. Okay. Maybe he was abusing his pro-hero status by requesting a specific doctor to take care of him. But fuck that. He wanted to show that damn woman that, yes, he came back and would never back off from a challenge. Challenge? Didn't you just want to see her again? He felt his cheeks growing warm under his mask. Fucking traitor brain. She did challenge him. That's the only, and he repeated again in his mind, the only reason for him to come back. Ground Zero-san. The receptionist called. At the end of the hall, turn to your right. You can enter room 3. Midoriya-san will be there soon. Katsuki sat on the examination table as soon as he entered the room, his hand immediately going for his phone. Then what? He discovered that the idiot that he calls best friend texted all their ex-classmates and begrudgingly friends about his visit to the hospital. He typed furiously at his phone. Using capital letters, he sent a fuck you dipshits at the group chat. And on private, he sent a fuck you for Kirishima. What a great friend Shitty Hair was, spreading a word about his private matters to the extras, the fucking second after he left the crime scene. He's going to kill all the assholes that answered the messages, and Kirishima surely would get his ass blast to the sun. Gossipy bastards, the blonde hissed between gritted teeth. They should open a gossip blog instead of working as heroes. They would be rich by now. Oh, I see that you are in a good mood today. Bakugo grunted and ran a hand over his face, praying for some god to give him patience, because his other pain in the neck just arrived with an amused smile on lips. So, how are you today, Ground Zero? The doctor asked politely. Fucking great, Katsuki said, irony dripping at every word. Just take the damn stitches so I can leave the hospital and blast some idiots. You sat here for. The woman checked the time on her wristwatch. Less than 10 minutes, and are already trying to leave. I thought that you wanted to have at least a chat. Ha! The hero scoffed. Who the hell would want to chat with you of all people? Well, you went through the trouble to ask for me, so I'm sorry if I misunderstood something. She said, quickly heading to the cabinets and rummaging for the necessary medical instruments. I just came to show you that I didn't fucking chicken out, like you suggested last week. Oh. Her green eyes widened, as if she just remembered something. I forget about it. You forg. But I am really glad that you came back anyway. The woman interrupted. You are a hero after all, and need to take care of yourself. I can handle myself. Bakugo's lips curled into a snarl, yet the woman paid no heed. Of course, I'm sure you can, Tilda. She glanced at him out of the corner of her eye before refocusing on the equipment she was handling, seemingly unimpressed by his assertion. That's why you are here, in the hospital. A vein popped in his head, and once again, Katsuki snapped. Fuck you, Deku. The green-haired woman came to a sudden halt, her tasks at hand forgotten. She turned to look at the pro-hero that even in the middle of his tantrum, felt that now he genuinely had the doctor's attention. What? She started, any trace of amusement gone. Instead, her green eyes narrowed and flashed with a lot of emotions that Katsuki couldn't name. Did you call me? Deku. Isn't it your name? His red eyes met the emerald ones. He arched an eyebrow and pointed a finger at her name tag. Her tense shoulders relaxed a little bit, but she was still studying him. Katsuki was sure of that. He saw that look a lot in his opponent's faces all the time. It's written on your name tag. My name is Izuku. The doctor, Izuku, finally said. Midoriya Izuku, not Deku. Still can be read as Deku. Which parent would name their child Deku? Izuku commented, a sigh escaping her lips, and hands moving around her medical equipment. Didn't you think that something was wrong? I don't give a shit about how people name their children. He rolled his eyes, crossing his arms in front of his chest. And I don't care if your name is Izuku or Deku either. Why am I not surprised? She rolled her eyes and approached the man. Can you take off the gauntlets? Do I look like someone who has time to keep remembering extras' names? Katsuki growled, but complied with the request, removing the equipment. I do remember all my patients' names though. Izuku commented, holding the hero's arm and examining the stitches that were starting to get loose. A good sign. The injury was healing really nice. Ha! The blonde scoffed. Says the extra that only knows my hero name. I know your name. I just opted to call you by your hero name. That's different. A smirk appeared at Katsuki's lips. So what is my name, Deku? Izuku stopped again. But this time she didn't look annoyed or whatever she was feeling before. This time, green eyes were twinkling with amusement. Kaken. She responded sweetly, almost saccharine, with an overly cheerful fake smile. Katsuki stared, blinked, and then blinked a few more times. What? I believe we can skip a few friendship steps, since you've already given me such a lovely nickname, right, Kaken? Kaken. 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 Who the fuck is Kaken? And the doctor laughed at his reaction. Oh, silly man. Izuku struggled to stifle her laughter. It's you. You are Kaken. Go to hell, the pro hero yelled. The fuck is wrong with your head to call me with this fucking girly name? Nickname. She corrected him. I don't give a damn, dipshit. If you are calling me Deku, I can call you Kaken. It's fair. As if. Are you going to address me as Midoriya, or at least Izuku? Hell no. Then I won't call you Bakugo either. She deadpanned. Just fucking go back to my hero name then, he huffed, growing increasingly irritated. He was on the brink of exploding figuratively. That is. Katsuki had outgrown his penchant for going around and exploding at everyone except villains that he still blows up literally and his idiot friends. But his already almost non-existent patience was wearing thin at each second. Not anymore, Kaken Tilda. To hell with patience. I never had any to begin with anyway. If someone heard, and they did yelling, explosions, and laughter inside room 3. No one said a word about it. Not when Ground Zero was using his collection of swears that he usually saves just for the worst villains. I met Ground Zero today, Izuku announced, a grin clearly on her lips. Her companion, pro-hero Shouto, or just Todoroki Shouto, stared at her for a second before turning his attention back to his food. But this is the second time though. Todoroki continued eating his soba. But Izuku knew that he was listening. He is funny. Midoriya, I don't think that we are talking about the same person. The half-red and half-white-haired man stopped eating his meal, placed the chopsticks down, to look serious at his friend. Because funny is the last word that someone would use to describe Bakugo Katsuki. I think that you're funny too, Shaochin. The woman said, giggling. And a lot of people disagree with this too. He paused for a second, before adding, I disagree. They were at a small family restaurant near Shouto's apartment. Whenever they have time, Izuku and Shouto would meet over there to talk about their chaotic days as a doctor and as a pro-hero. People just don't know you long enough to get it. The green-haired woman commented. They need at least 13 years to understand your sense of humor, Shaochin. I know myself for 24 years, and I still don't get it. Shouto deadpanned. Should I punch you in the face again? Like when we were in middle school? Izuku smiled innocently. before taking a bite of her katsudon. Maybe my point will come across. Todoroki couldn't hold back a snort. No, thank you. Shoto knew that Izuku wasn't asking. She was just making a point. She would definitely punch him again if he started bad-mouthing himself. That one punch in middle school was enough. That's why nowadays I can say that this quirk is mine, and mine alone, right? Her expression softened, and a real smile crossed her lips. They knew each other from middle school. At the time, Shoto didn't have anyone to call friend, and wasn't approachable at all. People admired him, but at the same time were scared of how his eyes were always piercing through them. A 12-year-old Midoriya Izuku wasn't one of those people. She was a curious girl, always taking notes of her classmates' quirks. It was just observation though, because her classmates often ignored her, and didn't give her a second of their time, even if she had questions about their quirks. In a way, Izuku was just like Shoto, friendless, but for different reasons. Well, back then, you were really a narrow-minded kid, so I had to do something. The doctor defended herself. As if I would stay put when you keep babbling about your fire quirk not being yours. I was 12 years old with a really bad home environment. The hero scoffed. You can't really fault me here. I know. She nodded. That was your dad's fault. But you still punched me. I did. And you broke your fingers doing it. Todoroki added. Just to let you know, I didn't know that there's a right way to punch someone. Izuku laughed, and Shoto sighed. But I don't regret it, and I am sure you don't regret using your father's money on All Might merch just to piss him off. Never. He didn't think twice to answer that. You should have seen his face when the giant All Might plushie arrived at his agency when I was an intern there. He couldn't even put the plushie on fire because we were in public. See? You have some sense of humor in you. We are the only ones who would laugh at that, you know it, right? Shoto arched an eyebrow, staring at his friend that just smiled bigger at him. Also, now that you commented about my father's money. He paused for a second, mismatched eyes looking outside the windows on the other side of the restaurant, as if he was waiting for something to happen outside. What? Izuku questioned. Kirishima said that the world is ending. He started, and this time, it was Izuku's turn to arch an eyebrow. So I decided that we should spend all my father's money before it happens. I don't want money to go to waste. And why would he say that? Because Bakugo went to the hospital willingly. When the green-haired woman didn't say anything, Shoto continued. Unless you found something really wrong with his head while you were checking him, the world is ending. It took Izuku a few moments to process the information. I just came to show you that I didn't fucking chicken out, like you suggested last week. Ground Zero. Bakugo Katsuki did say that, but she ignored him, thinking that he was just exaggerating and was just using it as an excuse to come to the hospital to take the stitches and take proper care of himself. So he really took that as a challenge. Oh my god, Izuku started laughing. What? Shoto asked. He is funny after all. Who? Kirishima. No, Bakugo Katsuki. So Tilda, you have a concussion. No shit, Deku. I don't to be a fucking doctor to deduce that. Don't be like that, Kaken. The doctor said, looking down at Ground Zero that was currently laying at a bed in a private hospital room, head and arms bandaged. Stop calling me that, Katsuki snarled, even hurt. He still had enough energy to complain and yell at people. This fucking nickname is ridiculous. I think it suits you. She smiled innocently. Are you calling me ridiculous now? The blonde pro-hero roared. I never said that, but feel free to interpret the way you want. Izuku teased, green eyes scanning the papers with Katsuki's test results. Fuck you, asshole. Come on, Kaken. That's getting old. You should update your cursing list, you know. Bakugo scowled, his red eyes glaring at the quick-witted doctor who effortlessly brushed aside his jabs to focus on analyzing the just received test results. It's been almost 2 months since the first time that they met, and the third time that he came to the hospital after he took off the stitches. Every time that Katsuki came to the hospital, the attendants sent him straight to Izuku since the Greenette was the only doctor who could handle the explosive hero. Their exchanges were consistently filled with banter. Some a lot curses and yelling from Bakugo's part and sassy comebacks from Midoriya's part. However, there was no real bite at their remarks. Eventually, the hospital staff grew used to their dynamic, categorizing it as either friendly banter or a peculiar way to flirt. Whatever it was, the staff no longer flinched when the distant sounds of small explosions reverberated throughout the hospital. Inwardly, Katsuki refused to acknowledge it. But he found that hospital visits weren't all that bad when Deku was around to keep him entertained. Fine, whatever, nerd, he grumbled, his red eyes still fixed on Izuku. When can I get out of here? She rolled her eyes. Given the concussion, it's best if you stay at least until tomorrow for observation. Fucking hell, Katsuki cursed. Look at the bright side. Is there one? I have a double shift, so I'll be here to keep you company, Tilda. Can't you take a hint? He hissed. That's even worse. Whoa, so rude. And then Izuku laughed. So Bakubro, Kirishima started, carefully putting down the glass of beer on the table. Just spill it, shitty hair. Kirishima's red eyes met with Ashido's yellow ones across the table. She nodded at him, just like Kaminari and Siro that discreetly gave him the thumbs up. The red-head man always wondered why he was the one in charge of asking for information from Bakugo. The perks of being the best friend. Maybe. Kirishima corrected himself. Because, yes, he is the one responsible for asking. But there is no way that he is taking Katsuki's rage alone, if he touched a sensitive matter. Noticed that you've been going to the hospital willingly. So what? Katsuki frowned, red eyes glaring at his friend. I decided to listen to your complaints for once and actually go there. Yeah, and that's good, Kirishima replied immediately. You are finally taking care of yourself. But they stared at each other for a second, and Mina had enough. Something is going on, she shouted, banging her hands on the table. You are keeping something from us, Blasty. Fuck off, raccoon eyes, the ash-blonde man snapped. Nothing is going on, and even if there was something, I wouldn't say a fucking word about it. See? The pink woman exclaimed, grabbing Katsuki's shoulders and shaking him. Something definitely is going on, and you are not telling us. Are you sick, dude? Kaminari suddenly asked, a worried expression on his face. Fuck no, Bakugo yelled, shoving the pink woman away from him, and deciding that he should ask for another round of beer, because fuck. His damn friends were out to annoy him today. But it's true that you keep going to the hospital, Siro added, looking at the explosive hero. I mean, you go there even for injuries that normally you would brush off as nothing. Last time I had a concussion, soy sauce face. A fucking concussion. What the hell? Even Katsuki would go to the hospital if he hit his head. Yes, I know, the tape hero continued. But, Siro trailed off, trying to find the right words. Okay, what I mean is, you always go to the same hospital, even if you get injured on the other side of the city. Katsuki frowned. So what? No one goes to a hospital on the other side of the city when there's a really good one just around the corner. Siro threw his hands in the air, exasperated. Oh, come on, Blasty, Mina insisted. Just tell us. Yeah, what does that hospital have that the others don't? Bakugo, Kirishima insisted. There must be something. I'm telling you that there's nothing, Goy. Kakin. And suddenly Bakugo froze. There was just one person that called him using that ridiculous nickname. And of fucking course he would run out of luck at some point. And he would have to tell his shitty friends about, the hospital. But Katsuki decided that the gods hated him. Because of all times, it had to be now. Jesus fucking Christ, the blonde hissed, turning around to meet beautiful green eyes. Really? Whoa. The woman faked surprise at his reaction. Hello to you too, Kaken. Kaken? Ashido repeated dumbstruck. You called him Kaken. Cyril pointed at Bakugo. You call him Kaken, the man beside Deku said, taking off the dark blue cap, which was hiding his half-white and half-red hair. Yup, I do. T. Todoroki, Kaminari stuttered, eyes looking back and forth from his friend and fellow pro-hero, and the green-haired woman who was standing beside him. What the hell? Kaminari felt betrayed now, even Todoroki, that dense excuse of a guy, was on a date. What are you doing here, half and half bastard? Katsuki yelled, red eyes glaring at the presence of Todoroki's shadow next to Deku. And why are you with him, Deku? Usually people go to restaurants to have food, Kaken. The doctor answered, ignoring the second part of the question, a teasing tone obviously on her voice. Or did you hit your head so hard last time and forgot? Fuck you. If I had permanent brain damage, I would sue for doing a shitty job, Deku, he retorted, frowning. Kirishima muttered, deciding to ignore Todoroki's presence for a second, because he was not sure of what was going on now. Do you know each other? Oh, sorry. The woman apologized, a small smile on her lips. My name is Midoriya Izuku. I am the doctor who takes care of him. She pointed a finger at the ash-blonde hero. When he goes to the hospital. Shut up, Deku, Katsuki exclaimed before the green-haired woman could give more information. But the damage was already done. Todoroki, the only one who probably knew about everything, sighed and started counting on his head. 1, 2, 3. What? Bakugo's friends erupted in shocked disbelief. Izuku grinned. Todoroki sighed. And Bakugo glared at the young doctor. Oh, you didn't tell your friends about us, Kaken. Such misleading words, Todoroki thought. But judging by Izuku's grim and the shocked faces of Shiro, Kaminari, Kirishima, and Ashido, she got the reaction that she wanted from the other pro-heroes. Well, Deku trailed off, her voice lilting with amusement, one hand gently resting on Todoroki's back, the other one waving at the still shocked pro-heroes, but green eyes stayed focused on Katsuki's red ones. That's my cue to leave, Tilda. See you around, Kaken Tilda. I will kill you, asshole. He tried to get up. Keyword, tried, because his friends immediately started launching a lot of questions while holding his shirt pinky and arms Kirishima. Such a heroic sentence. Shadow rolled his eyes and muttered when they were away from Bakugo's earshot. The doctor laughed at that. I don't think that being threatened is funny. That was not a threat, Izuku replied, still pushing Todoroki. That was only Kaken trying to hide his embarrassment. No, really, Midoriya, that was a threat. Is that why you keep going there? Midoriya and Todoroki heard the only woman at the Bakusquad table cry. To flirt with a doctor? Is she your girlfriend? Huh? Whose girlfriend? Bakugo was really loud. Do you want to die? Bro, I'm so proud of you, Kirishima exclaimed, crying on Katsuki's shoulder. But I'm your best friend. Why didn't you tell me? What the fuck, shitty hair? Stay away from me. Gross. Betrayal, came Kaminari's voice. How the hell Bakugo snatched a girlfriend when I didn't even get a date with Jiru? Shut up, Pikachu. Just man up and ask ears on a fucking date. The world is really ending after all. Shiro immediately got his phone, slender fingers typing a message on the class chat, while ignoring the chaos that was his friends now. And I still don't have a girlfriend. Class a Madness group chat. Saturday, July 19th, 2020. Cellophane. Kirishima was right. The world is ending. 8:28 p.m. Cellophane. Bakugo has a girlfriend. 8:28 p.m. Cellophane. Go back to your original plans and do whatever. You need to do before the world explodes. 8:29 p.m. Invisible girl. What? A girlfriend. 8:30 p.m. Invisible girl. When did this happen? 8:30 p.m. Earphone jack. Are we even talking about the same Bakugo Katsuki here? 8:30 p.m. Earphone jack. Angry, ash blonde, red eyes, eternal frown on his face. That Bakugo. 8:31 p.m. Criety. Well, I think that we only know one Bakugo-san. 8:32 p.m. Uravity. She must be an angel to date Bakugo-kun of all people. 8:32 p.m. Cellophane. Ask Todoroki for more details. 8:35 p.m. Cellophane. He knows Bakugo's girlfriend. 8:35 p.m. Uravity. Todoroki Shadow, where are you? 8:35 p.m. Invisible girl. We need details. 8:35 p.m. Tailman. I think I forgot how to read. 8:48 p.m. Tsukuyomi. Me too. Dark Shadow 2. 8:52 p.m. Froppy. I still know how to read. I just can't believe it. 9:01 p.m. Uravity. Still no answer from Todoroki-kun. 9:03 p.m. Invisible girl. Todoroki. 9:05 p.m. Tailman. Todoroki. I need to know if I can still read. 9:11 p.m. Criety. Todoroki-san. 9:13 p.m. Earphone jack. Is he working tonight? 9:14 p.m. Froppy. No, he was on morning shift today. I saw him. 9:22 p.m. Invisible girl. And where is Zero? He dropped the bomb and went Mia. 9:22 p.m. Uravity. Maybe Bakugo went after him. 9:23 p.m. Invisible girl. OMG, so died after revealing us the truth. 9:23 p.m. Earphone jack. We won't forget you, Zero. 9:24 p.m. Grape juice. What the hell? 9:29 p.m. Grape juice. Bakugo has a girlfriend. How? 9:29 p.m. Grape juice. How can someone like him get a girlfriend? 9:30 p.m. Grape juice. It can't be true. 9:30 p.m. Grape juice. Where is Todoroki? 9:30 p.m. Grape juice. I need an explanation. 9:31 p.m. Invisible girl. Nothing from Todoroki yet. 9:58 p.m. Criety. He is probably busy. 10:02 p.m. Shoutout. Her name is Midoriya Izuku. 10:22 p.m. Shoutout. And last time I saw Zero, he wasn't dead yet. 10:22 p.m. Ground Zero left the group. Criety added Ground Zero. Ground Zero left the group. Criety added Ground Zero. Ground Zero. I fucking hate all of you. 10:31 p.m. Katsuki was on a patrol when he saw Todoroki for the first time after the dinner fiasco. His friends annoyed him during the whole time that they stayed at the restaurant. And to his surprise, Soy Sauce Face and Half Bastard were messaging shit at the group chat too. I fucking hate you, asshole, Bakugo said, repeating the words he used in the group chat as soon as he approached Todoroki. Maybe he should punch the bastard. But then again, the PR department would skin him alive for punching another pro hero, even if said pro hero is ice-hot bastard in the middle of the street where a lot of people were passing by. Nothing new. Hero Shadow deadpanned. I'm not dating Deku, Katsuki stated. Not as loud as he wanted because the extras walking around didn't need to hear that. Yeah, I know. You fucking knew and still said crap in the chat. I never said that you were dating. Todoroki commented. I just gave information about Midoriya, and that you didn't kill Zero. That's all. I hope some villain kicks your ass, and you drop dead. Bakugo growled at the red and white-haired man, before turning around to continue the patrol. Thank you. Have a good patrol too, Bakugo. The blonde man gave him the middle finger. Kaken. Fuck. Why? Katsuki was off duty for once on call. If some shit villain decides to wreck part of the city and other heroes need assistance, so while the day was still peaceful, he decided that cleaning his apartment and shopping for his almost empty fridge were a good way to spend his day off. Clearly the universe didn't agree with him, because why the hell he had to meet the fucking doctor in a supermarket of all places? He was supposed to see her only in the hospital if he was about to die. Are you not happy to see me, Kaken? The doctor asked, amused by how the hero's face contorted after hearing her words. I'm never happy seeing your stupid face. And I won't ever be happy after the little stunt you pulled on me at the restaurant the other day. He deadpanned, fixing his black cap. He didn't need more people recognizing him and taking a look at her cart full of junk food. What are you doing here, Deku? She arched her eyebrow. What people usually do in a supermarket, Izuku answered rhetorically. Oh fuck, really? Bakugo hissed. I mean, what are you doing in this supermarket specifically? I live near. Katsuki wanted to die. It means that in a way they were neighbors. It means that there was a chance to meet the stupid green-haired woman again. He's fucking lucky. Are you off today? The doctor asked, green eyes looking inside his cart. Oh, these chips are really good. Stop looking inside other people's carts, Katsuki exclaimed. Then added, creep. Hey, I am not a creep. And don't pretend you didn't look at my cart. I saw you judging my food choices. This crap can't even be called food. It's food, she sounded offended. Comfort food to be more specific. I have a lot of vegetables and healthy food at home. Thank you very much. But there's nothing inside my fridge that can make a woman happy during Mother Nature's call. Do I look like someone who wants to hear about your period problems? No, but it's your fault for judging my cart. I just gave you an explanation. For fuck's sake, what the fuck did I do to deserve this shit? He groaned. Izuku laughed at the exaggerated reaction. Messing with the pro hero was one of the funniest things that happened in her life so far. I don't know, but I'm kind of glad that I got to meet you, Ground Zero. Izuku said, a gentle smile on her lips, no signs of amusement, just pure sincerity. Katsuki stared at the woman, caught off guard, because it was the first time since the first appointment that she actually referred to him using his hero name. Actually, that day when you first came into the hospital, I was having a really bad day. Why? He asked before he could stop himself. Green eyes were looking at him, but at the same time Katsuki knew that she was looking at something past him. Anger? Sadness? He didn't know what was that wave of emotions inside those beautiful eyes. Just a bad day, came the answer. She didn't bother to elaborate. But then, I went there to examine you, who at the time was trying to run away from the hospital. I wasn't trying to run away. I was tired of waiting. I wanted to leave, Katsuki interrupted, but was ignored by the doctor. And my day became bright. She giggled at the memory. It was fun. I mean, bickering with a pro hero. Who would do it? Aren't you friends with Ice Hot Bastard? You really should stop calling people by such mean nicknames, you know. Ha, never. But yeah, I am friends with Shouchin, Izuku said, and somehow Katsuki felt bothered by the nickname for Todoroki Shouto. However, it's different. Shouchin and I, we have known each other for a long time, but you and I, we were bickering like 5-year-old kids at our first meeting. Which adult does that? Katsuki didn't even want to answer that. And then, a week later you came back because you thought that I was challenging you for some reason, and then called me Deku. I will tell you something. Izuku's expression got serious. I hated the name. He gulped, his mouth suddenly dry, and a feeling similar to guilt blooming in his chest. When I was a kid, my classmates misread the kanji of my name, and just like you, they started calling me Deku, useless Deku, the Deku that can't achieve anything they used to say. But Izuku's expression became soft again, and Katsuki relaxed a little bit. But in the back of his mind, he made a note to be a little bit more careful with the nicknames that he used to address some people. Unlike them, there was no deeper meaning behind the Deku that you used. Just a small misunderstanding, to be honest. You don't really mean real harm doing it. And this already makes you different from the people who used to call me by this nickname. You don't know me well enough to say it. The blonde commented. Shaochan said that back at you. You couldn't remember your classmates' names until, was it until the end of the year? Everyone had to leave some kind of impression on you, so you can memorize them. The fucking bastard, Bakugo hissed. I'm gonna kill him next time I see that stupid face. The point is, you are really bad with names, so you just give nicknames to make it easy. You call me Deku because it is easy, not because you think I am useless or whatever, right? Then she added, it doesn't mean that people like it though. What's your fucking point? He was embarrassed. This woman was reading his habits and analyzing him with just second-hand information. It's simple. She smiled, freckled cheeks getting slightly pink. You made my day better, even funnier. So thank you, hero. That was a weird conversation to hold in a supermarket, next to a bunch of onion-flavored chips, chocolate bars and cookies, with people walking around them, whispering and trying to figure out what kind of relationship they had. Perhaps they should have moved somewhere else to talk, because now his and Deku's faces were printed in front of a gossip magazine with the subtitle, Who is the mysterious woman with ground zero? Is one of the top 10 heroes out of the market? Bullshit, he said, throwing the offensive magazine in the trash. What the hell? Those shitheads don't have anything better to do than stalk people. Hey, that's mine, Mina cried, getting the magazine that she bought that morning from the bin. Don't throw other people's stuff in the trash. It's trash, Bakugo huffed and crossed his arms. Bro, that's Todoroki's friend, right? Kirishima asked, taking the magazine from Mina's hand and shoving it at his best friend's face. Are you dating her after all? No, Katsuki yelled, irritated. What the fuck? Now he can't even talk with people in a supermarket? I just met her by chance while I was out buying food. Mina took her magazine back and stared at the photo that some paparazzi took while the pro hero and the doctor were distracted. They looked relaxed talking to each other. She was laughing at something while Bakugo was frowning, nothing new. But it was kind of cute in her opinion. So, are you going to ask her out? She asked curiously. What? No, Katsuki slammed his hand on his office table. Where the hell did that idea come from? Okay, Deku was cute. Those green eyes and freckled cheeks were things that he really appreciated about Deku's appearance. But asking her out? No, not a chance. But you do look good together, Kirishima said, coming behind Ishido to look again at the photo, hand under his chin and expression pensive. Do you even hear the shit that comes out of your mouth? The ash-blonde man groaned. That morning when he left his apartment for work, immediately he was attacked by journalists and paparazzis at the entrance of the building, all of them asking about the photo that some bastard took of him and Deku in the supermarket. The agency's door wasn't any better. PR was probably having a hell of a day, not that he cared. Deku just happens to be the only doctor that isn't afraid of saying shit to my face, and is kind of my neighbor. Nothing more, nothing less. So shut up, and leave me alone. You call your doctor Deku? Raccoon Eyes asked, arching an eyebrow. That's mean, Blasty, even for you. Of all the shit that I just said, you just got that part? He glared at the pink heroine who sat on his table. Her name is Midoriya. Kirishima was probably trying to find her name in the group chat, since Todoroki revealed Deku's real name to all his friends. Midoriya Izuku. Oh, I see why you call her that, Kanji. I hate them sometimes. But anyway, Bakubro, can't you come up with something better? I don't hear you complaining about your nickname, Shitty Hair. I did, back in high school. But as you can see, you never dropped it. And at this point in life, I don't think that you can call me anything else. Glad that you know. Bakugo smirked. But really, Bakugo? Ashido sounded a little bit worried. I mean, we are used to your shitty attitude, but we know you for years, and she only knows you for what? 2 months? Didn't she say anything? A complaint or something like, I don't want you to come here at my hospital ever again. Look, she is fine with the nickname. Katsuki huffed, irritated once more. He didn't have to tell his friends that he kind of talked about the whole nickname stuff with Deku while he was shopping. So stop fucking bothering me and go to your work or whatever. The agency doesn't pay us to chitty chat, so fuck off. That's my office. On the defensive, I see Tilda. You're still in denial, Blasty. Mina chuckled, a knowing look on her face. And before Katsuki had the chance to try to explode his friend, Kirishima pulled the pink-haired woman out of the room and closed the door to his office. Katsuki growled, irritated at what Mina was implying. In denial. He wasn't in denial. But somewhere in his brain, and maybe heart, he knew that he was. A few days later, when the commotion about his inexistent love life calmed down, Katsuki found himself going to the hospital. The receptionist didn't ask questions. By now, she knew that Ground Zero would have his injuries treated by Dr. Midoriya. They would sass each other for a few minutes, and the hero would leave the hospital as if he didn't yell at the top of his lungs. That's why she just gave him an emergency room number and told him that the doctor would be there soon. And a doctor came to the room, but not who Katsuki was expecting. You are not Deku. The woman standing in front of Katsuki flinched, almost dropping the bandages. We are sorry, Ground Zero-san. The short black-haired woman apologized. Dr. Midoriya can't come now. She was suddenly asked to assist in a surgery. Assisting in a surgery, She was saving a life. She was trying to be a hero in a different way. He looked at the scratches on his arms and the cut on his tight. Nothing really bad. Why the hell did he decide to come to the hospital in the first place? I will take care of your injuries today, so please, where are you going? Home, he answered, wearing his gauntlets again, and leaving the room, because if Deku wasn't coming, there was no meaning to be there. Also, Midoriya Izuku was the only person who had the courage to fight him back, so no one would stop him from leaving anyway. It was around 9 p.m. when someone started knocking at the door of his apartment. Katsuki told the gatekeeper that he could let his sorry excuses of Friendspro heroes enter the building without announcing their arrival. So when he heard the knocks, the ash-blonde man was sure that it was Kirishima, Ashido, Siro, or Kaminari, or all four at his door. What the fuck are you doing here, half and half bastard? He asked, a frown on his face, as he leaned against the door frame. Todoroki Shoto was the last person that he expected at his door. Believe me, I don't want to be here, Shoto commented, rolling his eyes. But she forced me to bring her here. Her? Who? And as Katsuki finished the question, suddenly a green-haired woman bounced from behind the taller pro-hero. Hi, Kaken. Bakugo tried to close the door. Really, he tried. But the ice-hot asshole placed a foot at the door, preventing the door from closing fully. Fuck you, bastard, Katsuki yelled. Why did you bring that stalker here? That was uncalled for, Kaken, Izuku defended herself. But the amused smile was clearly on her lips. And if someone is a stalker, that's you. Aren't you the one that keeps coming to the place where I work? Fucker. I brought you here, Midoriya. Shoto interrupted, putting a hand on the door and fully opening it again. The woman used the opportunity to enter the house. I need to go get ready for my shift, but call me. Mismatched eyes stared at Katsuki's red ones. If you need something. Thanks, Shaochin. Deku smiled and waved at Todoroki, who just waved back and left. You leave too, Katsuki suddenly yelled, hand ready to grab the green-haired woman, who dodged the attack and marched inside. Pardon the intrusion, Tilda. The nerve of this woman. He didn't even notice when she took her shoes off at the entrance. The hell are you doing here? Katsuki slammed the door close and marched right behind the doctor that was humming and looking around. Stop looking around. That's fucking creep. She stopped in the middle of his living room and turned around to stare at him. The green eyes that he kind of liked lost the playful demeanor, and a serious expression had taken her delicate features. If you had just taken proper medical assistance at the hospital, I wouldn't be here, Deku said, placing a yellow backpack that he hadn't really noticed before on the floor. A first aid kit was taken from inside, and Katsuki was starting to understand what her plan was. Why bother to go to the hospital if you won't stay to be treated? The ash blonde didn't answer, because there was no way in hell that he would admit that he wasn't interested in staying to be treated if the doctor wasn't Deku. But anyway, Deku didn't want an answer. She was just angry and spurting everything that her brain was telling her to say. I can't believe that after I left a 12-hour surgery, Izuku continued rambling angrily, and Katsuki was impressed that after such long hours of work, the greenette still had this much energy to scold him. The first thing that I heard from another doctor was that Pro Hero Ground Zero came to the hospital, but left without getting treatment. What's wrong with you? Fuck off. I didn't want that doctor to treat me, he defended himself. The doctor, she didn't look competent. The fuck was he saying? What? Deku snapped her head to glare at him. Dr. Yuzuha is one of the best. Well, it didn't fucking look like that, he snapped back. Deku facepalmed and groaned, probably irritated at Katsuki, not that he give a fuck about it. But she probably expected a reaction like that. So instead of keeping the bickering, she took a deep breath and pointed at the couch. Okay, just sit down so I can treat your wounds. Don't order me around, Katsuki retorted, but still sat down. And I can take care of myself. Green eyes looked at the loose bandages around his arms. Yes, I can see. He snarled at the doctor, but she ignored the hero. Attention turned to the inside of the first aid kit. Gauzes, bandages, antiseptics, some medications, and needles. Deku really came prepared. Let me see your arms, she said, and Katsuki didn't protest. He extended his left arm first, and Deku, without effort, took the bandages off. Katsuki caught himself staring at Deku. Her green eyes were focused on the task. He liked that kind of eyes. She was analyzing the extent of the injuries and planning what to do next. It reminds him of how he and other pro heroes looked when they were fighting villains. Calculated and determined. Katsuki was used to people tending to his injuries. Hell, while in the hospital, how many times Deku changed his bandages? But here, sitting at the couch of his own apartment, while the green-haired doctor who was wearing casual clothes instead of the white coat was taking care of his injuries, it was way more, dare he say, intimate. Give me the other arm. The greenette suddenly asked, and Katsuki took a moment to realize that his left arm was already taken care of. They are not so bad compared to other injuries that you had before. I told why. But you still have to take treatment. Deku interrupted him, but never stopped working on his arm. The bandages were off in a second. The proper use of your quirk depends especially on your hands, arms, and shoulder, so please, at least try to take better care of yourself. Her voice was soft. The anger and indignation from before were gone. Deku was just worried about his well-being. His friends, his family, and the heroes that Katsuki worked together with. Of course that they get worried about him. Even if he was an ass 90% of the time, he would get worried about them as well. However, Hearing the woman in front of him voicing her own worries, it felt different, a good different thought. He sighed. The shitty villain that I kicked today got me on the thigh too. Can you take a look? Deku smiled. Of course. A few minutes later, when Deku finished taking care of all his injuries, she turned around to Katsuki, a curious expression on her face. What? The ash-blonde hero asked. I was just wondering. About what? So, you let me treat you because you think that I am competent. Katsuki blushed, embarrassed. But as he yelled a really loud, fuck off, he hoped that he sounded at least a little bit annoyed, even if Deku started laughing, as if he told her the biggest joke of the century. After the day that Deku invaded Katsuki's apartment, sometimes she dropped by, just to make sure that Hero Ground Zero took her advice, and was properly looking out for his health. The first time that she did it, it was a week after she asked Shadow for help. Since her name wasn't on the list of people that could go up, the gatekeeper called Katsuki, asking for permission to let the doctor enter. The man really thought for an instant that he should say no, just to stir a reaction from Deku. But in the end, he told the gatekeeper to let Deku pass. She came with the yellow backpack again, and All Might merch he took note. The greenette examined the cuts from the other day, and the new scratch on his cheek that he got in an attack during his patrol. It's a scratch, Katsuki frowned. At least apply some ointment, Deku rebuked. The second time that Deku came by, her name was already added in the You Can Pass list. You already put my name on your Let Them Pass Straight by the Gate list. And I can always fucking remove it. You wouldn't. Try me. And yeah, the third time that Deku visited, the gatekeeper had to call Katsuki. The blonde was laughing his head off while hearing the doctor call him names in the phone call's background. It started as a way to Deku check on Katsuki's well-being, to make sure that he was taking care of himself. It wasn't just a doctor looking out for his patients. Deku was pretty sure that as his doctor she shouldn't have asked Shadow to bring her to Ground Zero's apartment. At some point she was looking out for a friend, someone that she cared more than just what her profession let her. Katsuki never said a word about her once-a-week's visits. Initially the plan was to check on the hero a few times, and then she would stop doing it. She told herself that she would. But one night, the hero placed a plate of katsudon in front of her, yelling that she wasn't allowed to waste a single grain of rice. You can cook? She asked, surprised by the incredibly nice smell of the food and plate presentation. What? Did you think that I would suck at cooking? The hero grumbled. No, I mean, it's just surprising. Huh? And suddenly, there was a pattern. Deku would check on Katsuki once a week. Katsuki would cook them dinner. And they would bicker while washing the dishes. Deku would laugh, and Katsuki would feign annoyance. Sometimes Kirishima, Kaminari, Shiro, or Ishido, or all of them would barge in Katsuki's apartment too. But the first time that they met Midoriya Izuku for real, like, with time to actually talk with her, it was chaos. Ah, you are Todoroki's friend from the other day. Mina cried excitedly, throwing her shoes off and running at the direction of the doctor who was finishing bandaging Katsuki's leg. I am Ishido Mina. Nice to officially meet you. Deku laughed at the heroine's enthusiasm, while Katsuki yelled at his friend for barging in his apartment. I know you, Hero Pinky. The doctor said. I actually know all of you. You have been pretty famous since your first year in UA. It's nice to finally meet Kaken's friends. Oh, Kaminari snickered. It's nice to meet Kaken's friend as well, If you call me that again, I will fucking kill you, Katsuki yelled, getting up from the couch and going in the other blonde direction, ready to explode the stupid electric quirk user. Ha! It's a nickname that only Midoriya can use, Shiro whispered to Kirishima, whose only reaction was grim. Other days, when their conversation got too long and Deku stayed until ungodly hours just because she wanted to extend their time together a little bit more, Katsuki would walk her home. You know, my apartment is just 10 minutes from here, she said, while putting on her shoes. You don't have to walk me there every time it gets late. You are a fucking walking disaster. I bet that if I let you go alone, some dipshit villain will show up. And I will have to leave home anyway, Katsuki replied, already waiting outside of the apartment's door. I'm not a walking disaster, Deku complained, a frown on her face. That's you and your explosions. I really should let a villain kick your ass. Oh, but I'm sure that my hero will come anyway. He just gave her the middle finger. It was fun. It was comfortable. It was. What exactly was all that? They didn't know. They couldn't name it. The time passed, and when they realized it, it was already December, and they knew each other for more than half a year. What are you going to do on Christmas? They were having dinner at Katsuki's apartment like always. He wasn't really hurt. Nothing happened during his patrol that day, but Deku would visit anyway, and he wouldn't be the one telling her to stop coming. At Christmas, Deku hummed, a pensive expression on her face. Probably working. Why? Okay, so maybe Katsuki hasn't thought it through. They knew each other for months. It was obvious that they care for each other. Being together was fun and Deku was always challenging him. They were compatible, and maybe he wanted something more for their relationship. The problem was how to do it. Just wondering if you wanted to maybe, fuck. Why was it so difficult to say those words? Celebrate it together. He expected Deku to reply immediately, gushing about cakes and Christmas ornaments, and what kind of present he would give her. Katsuki didn't expect her to stare at him. He didn't know what were those feelings passing through green eyes. You mean like a date? She asked. And some kind of alarm was triggered in his head with that short sentence. Something is wrong. There was something wrong with the way she said it. Did he get it wrong? Did Katsuki read the signs in the wrong way? He thought that Deku was interested in him, but her reaction. Katsuki didn't have another option but to back off. What the fuck, Deku? He forced himself to say, and the woman flinched. The fuck do you mean by date? Pinky is throwing a Christmas party and asked you to come too. He wasn't lying. Mina was planning a party, but Katsuki kind of wanted to be alone with Deku on the holiday. So, it hurted to see her sigh in relief. Ah, is that so? Deku said, a small smile on her lips. I will see with the hospital about my shift, and I will let you know. He nodded and took another spoon of his spicy curry, not trusting his voice. Are you dating Midoriya? Months ago, when Kirishima asked that same question, Katsuki got angry, yelled, and denied everything. But that was months ago, when he was just a patient of Midoriya Izuku. Now, what were they? A doctor and her patient. Friends. Something more? Really, Katsuki didn't know what kind of label he should put on his relationship with Deku. But considering her reaction to the mere thought of going on a date with him. No, we are not dating. Katsuki grumbled, irritated that he couldn't give a straight answer for that question. Now fuck off, shitty hair. But seriously, dude. The red-haired man insisted, sitting on the chair in front of Katsuki's work table. It's been months. Everyone with a pair of eyes can see that you two are dancing around each other. I said fuck off, Katsuki hissed, red eyes glaring at his best friend. This has nothing to do with you. Did you at least invite her on a date? Kirishima continued, ignoring the blonde's murderous glare. Not the mini dates in your apartment, but a real date, like dinner at a fancy restaurant. Oi, shitty hair. I will kill you if you say another word about it. Oh, shit, you didn't, Red Riot exclaimed, eyes widened in surprise. Why Bakubro? Katsuki knew that he had anger issues. That's why he went to therapy for years. And that's why twice a month he still went there, just to make sure that he was still good and making progress. His therapist taught him breathing exercises to keep his cool, and they usually work. But fucking Kirishima Ijiru was testing him right now. And Katsuki thought for a second that he spent money in therapy for nothing since he wanted to explode the red-haired idiot. Listen here, hair for brains, Katsuki said, counting until 10 on his head. Deku is my doctor, and we are friends. That's all, got it? Come on, Bakugo, don't be like that. Like what? Like that. A loser. Who are you calling loser, dipshit? You, Kirishima exclaimed, any kind of self-preservation instinct forgotten. You like Midoriya, don't you? So just ask her out. Fuck you, asshole. The other hero snarled, getting up from the chair and slamming his explosive hands on the table. I would ask her out if she was interested. Bakugo. What? You think that she is not interested in you? She isn't. I can't believe you, Kirishima facepalmed. Which girl keeps going to check on your health if she is not interested in something more than friendship? Are you this stupid? Shut up. You don't know what you are talking about, Katsuki defended himself, angry red eyes glaring at his friend, who arched a brow at him. So what is going on? Kirishima asked. The ash-blonde man sighed tired and let his body fall on the chair again. There is nothing going on. Really? Again with? Shut the fuck up for a second and listen, shitty hair, Katsuki roared. But there was not a bite to it. It's not like I didn't want to ask her out. I am not stupid. I know that what we have been doing is not exactly just friendship. But I feel like, if I try to get closer, Deku, she is going to pull away. What? Kirishima sounded surprised. Are we talking about the same person here? The spontaneous and tough woman. The only one who isn't afraid of sass, Bakugo Katsuki. The blonde huffed at that. Yesterday, I tried to ask her out on a date. Katsuki finally admitted with a sigh. But I don't think that she liked the idea of going on a date with me. No way, that can't be. The red-haired frowned. After all this time, why? Just fucking drop it, Kirishima, Katsuki said. Deku is not interested. And Kirishima fell silent, because Bakugo just used his real name instead of the nickname. Are you dating Bakugo? The question came out of nowhere, and Izuku choked at her cappuccino. The bakery where they decided to meet to hang out was pretty famous. Their cakes were cute and delicious. Also, the patisserie, a hero that retired a few years ago, had such a charisma that people would come back frequently to eat and sometimes talk with the ex-hero. Shoto offered her a napkin, and Izuku accepted it, whipping her mouth with it. That day in particular, the shop was bustling with clients putting orders of cakes and other desserts for the holiday that was approaching, and suddenly Izuku felt self-conscious, feeling as if someone would eavesdrop on them. Where did this come from, Xiaochan? She asked, stuttering, green eyes wide and freckled cheeks slightly pink. Why would you think this in the first place? Are you seriously asking that, Midoriya? The pro-hero arched an elegant eyebrow at his friend. I'm supposed to be the dense one here, but as you can see, the way that you and Bakugo have been acting made even me notice that something is going on. There is nothing going on, Xiaochan, the doctor answered, cheeks getting redder and redder. We are just friends. No, me and you, yeah, we are just friends, but you and Bakugo? The man insisted, taking a sip of his tea before continuing. It's different. How is it different? The woman insisted. I go to your house too. I take care of your wounds and we chat. Yeah, but I have known you for more than a decade. Shoto stated, face as stoic as always. And anyone who knows Bakugo can see that he has been in good spirits for a while. He being loud and spurting curses that would make a sailor embarrassed. Is your definition of good spirits? It was her turn to arch an eyebrow. No, that's just Bakugo being Bakugo. The half-red and half-white-haired man answered. What I mean is that he doesn't really make interns cry anymore with just a look. And sometimes he pays for the first round of drinks. Or that's what Ashido told me the other day. But anyway, he's doing stuff that he only does when he is in a good mood. And strangely, it started happening after you two started hanging out frequently. That just means that maybe I am a good influence. Izuku commented, trying to sound proud. I don't know why you are trying so hard to deny your relationship with Bakugo. I'm not denying anything. She frowned, green eyes staring at her chocolate cake. I can't deny something that's not true in the first place. This time Shadow placed his cup on the table, mismatched eyes studying his friend. He knew Midoriya for a long time. She was kind and would do anything to help people. She would also intrude on people's lives to bring the best out of them. He was proof of that. But when it came to herself, Midoriya, Shadow called, voice gentle and soft. You choose to be a doctor to save people because you wanted to help in your own way and prove to everyone that they were wrong about you. She looked up, the embarrassment from before forgotten. And you did it. The hero continued. But you know, sometimes we also need someone to help us. When I look at you, I think that you are trying to keep people at an arm's length. You put a wall between you and other people when you think that they are coming too close to whatever you are scared of. And right now, you are creating a wall between you and Bakugo. Why? Shadow didn't like pressing his friend like that. But how many times did he see Izuku doing that? Keeping people that wanted to bring a smile to her face away. As her best friend, it was his role to tell her off. Shaochin. His name was barely a whisper among the shop's noise, but he heard it clearly. Is it wrong to be scared? No, it's not. But if someone wants to be there for you, why would you keep them away? Not everyone is understanding. You didn't tell him yet? She shook her head, not meeting his eyes. Shadow sighed. We are not at school anymore, Midoriya. Yes, we are not. The woman agreed. But people are as cruel as before. So you think that Bakugo is one of them? Shadow deadpan. What? The woman cried, green eyes looking at her friend, as if he said something stupid. Why would I think that? I don't know. But the way you act makes me think that you do. Kaken is not like that. And she stopped. Green eyes widening in realization. He is not like that. What was she afraid of again? Shadow placed his hand over Izuku's, making her look at warm, mismatched eyes. Bakugo is a lot of things, but he isn't like that, Midoriya. He stated. And I know that you wouldn't let someone approach you if they wanted to hurt you. Shaochin. The woman chuckled, but it was obvious that she was trying hard to not cry. Last night, I think. No, I know that Kaken was trying to ask me out, but when her friend didn't say a word, she continued. All this time I was unconsciously trying to break free of these chains, and somewhere in my heart, I thought that Kaken would be the one who would help me, but in the end I got scared and… So what? You fuck it up. Shadow blurted out. It was unusual to hear Todoroki Shadow curse, but he was trying to make a point, so he needed stronger words. You tried to run away, but you can't. No, you don't want to do it anymore, and you know why. And Shadow was right. From the very beginning, Izuku knew that the way that she had been acting since her first meeting with Bakugo Katsuki was different. She learned to be sassy as a mechanism to deal with people looking down on her. But while interacting with Katsuki, she was just doing it for fun, because it was always interesting talking with the man. And as a result, she let her guard down, and Katsuki made into her heart without her noticing. Izuku couldn't run away anymore, because she fell in love with Bakugo Katsuki. A week later, when a soft knock echoed on his apartment, Katsuki didn't know what exactly he should do. It's open, he yelled from the kitchen, red eyes staring at the contents of the pan. He needed every fucking second to get his shit together, before he could look Deku in the eyes. Call him petty, but he was kind of hurt by Deku's subtle rejection. But his stupid heart still wanted her presence near him. Whoa, something smells good, he heard the woman say from the door. What are you cooking, Kaken? The door closed, and Katsuki took a deep breath. He could do this. Beef stew, he replied. Meat, he heard her giggled, and the footsteps were approaching. That's a pro hero for you. They can afford meat every day. The fuck, Deku? He turned around, and immediately he found himself staring at bright green eyes. You are a doctor. You get paid fucking well too. Well, yes. But cooking is not exactly my specialty. So it doesn't matter how much meat I have, if I can't make it tasty and edible. But I can bake pretty well. Katsuki rolled his eyes and turned back to take a look at the stew. It was boiling. Dinner is ready, he said, looking at Deku by the corner of his eyes. Be useful and get the plates out. It was the doctor's turn to roll her eyes, but she still did what she was asked. What the hell was that face for? The blonde hissed, trying to sound annoyed. I cooked dinner. You can't fucking complain. And when did I complain, Kakin? Fucking sassy woman. Why was he mopping for her again? Damn you, stupid heart. Seeing Deku walking around his kitchen, knowing where everything was located was doing his stupid heart to flip inside his chest. It was nice, even homey, and Katsuki really wanted things to continue that way, but with a slight addition of touches. However, every time that his mind went back to their last dinner, he tried to convince himself that it wasn't possible. He and Deku were friends. Nothing else would come of their relationship. Kakin. He looked up. Deku was staring at him, trying to figure out what he was thinking. Just sit down and eat, nerd, he said, getting their bowls and filling it with rice. But she didn't sit. What? Kakin. The doctor started, her hands gripping the back support of the chair. We need to talk. Katsuki flinched. We need to talk. Famous phrase for couples break up, though they weren't dating. So what? Deku wanted to end what? Their friendship. She wouldn't come to his apartment ever again. She would give up being his doctor. Fucking hell, what the hell was he thinking? About what? He asked a moment later, placing a bowl of rice in front of the greenette. She didn't say a word for a few seconds, and the pro hero could see the gears turning on the doctor's mind. What was so important that, Deku of all people, were second-guessing her own thoughts? Just fuck say it, Deku. She groaned and finally sat on the chair. Ugh. It's not this simple, Kakin. It is. Just say whatever comes to your mind, and that's it. What is so damn difficult about it? Kakin, not everyone is capable of being so straightforward like you, you know. But Katsuki just scoffed at that and took a bite of the stew. And what I want to tell you is a little bit difficult for me. And that made Katsuki look at the woman. Deku was always smiling and laughing. Of course, she was capable of getting annoyed and angry. How many times was he at the end of her anger? But he never saw her looking distressed, at least not like that. Sometimes when she comes to his apartment, she is sad, eyes a little bit puffy from crying. She was a doctor, not God or whatever celestial being. She can't save every single person that goes to the hospital, just like a pro hero can't save all citizens from villains' attacks. It's difficult. They try their best. But that's a reality that they need to deal with in their line of work. However, even on her worst days of work, she didn't look like that, looking like she would flee if he said a word louder than a whisper. What the F? What is going on? Deku, he managed to say without a cursing word, because Deku didn't need something that would stress her more. What happened? Have you ever wondered what kind of quirk I have? Deku asked out of blue. I did. In the start, Katsuki wondered what kind of quirk the doctor had, but she never used it while he was in the hospital, nor when they were at his apartment. So he just thought that whatever kind of quirk she had wasn't something that could be actually used for her job. But it was just a detail. He didn't really care about it. Deku's personality was way more interesting than any quirk that he saw until this day. But you never asked me about it. Is that important? In a society where more than 80% of people have a quirk, I thought that you would be curious. I was at the start. Katsuki sighed and crossed his arm, back resting comfortably at the chair. But you never used it. Or at least I didn't notice you using it. So I just brushed it off. Not everyone wants to talk about their quirks. She didn't say anything for a while, and Katsuki didn't hurry her either. Their food was getting cold. But fuck that, microwaves were there for that. Do you remember when I told you about this nickname Deku? Yes, someone misread the kanji of your name and was an ass about it. The thing is, the first time that someone called me Deku was at kindergarten, when I was 4 and didn't get a quirk. What? What? Katsuki wanted to punch himself for stuttering. It was really out of character, but he was surprised by that. He heard about people hating their own quirks, or the appearance that their quirk gave them. But he never met someone. Are you quirkless? Deku nodded, her eyes downcast and hands closed in fists around the hem of her shirt. She didn't want to look at Katsuki now, or she may lose all her courage to talk about the topic. And nowadays, her voice cracked, but she didn't stop. It's more difficult to find quirkless people. In our generation, it was already uncommon. But there were some registered cases, mine included. How did you find out about it? Katsuki asked. The caution in his voice was evident. When the children around me started manifesting their quirks, my mother took me to the hospital. The doctor asked for a few tests, and by the end of the day, he found out that I had an extra joint on my feet, and evidence that I would never get a quirk. Deku answered, still not looking at him. Kids can be cruel when you are different. They decided that Deku was a better name for someone without a quirk, someone that they judged useless for society. And oh shit. All this time Katsuki have been calling her by that fuck-up nickname, when the real meaning behind it was way heavier than he was originally told. And no matter where I went, the name and the stigma of being quirkless would follow. But the hero stopped, because what was he supposed to call the doctor now? I wanted to be a hero when I was a kid. Izuku continued, a humorless laugh escaping her lips. Of course I wanted to be a hero. How could I not? We grew up in a society where we are surrounded by heroes that we idolize. But people kept telling me that it was impossible for someone quirkless. My mother would cry and say sorry when it wasn't her fault. And one day a hero, the hero that I looked up to the most, told me that a quirkless girl couldn't be a hero. At least not the type of hero who can fight villains. So he just said that I should find another path. Children are cruel, but adults could be crueler, crushing dreams without a second thought. If he was beside Deku as a kid, would he have been different from those people? He was so self-centered as a kid. His quirk was everything for him back then. He started to be a better person when he entered UA, and was forced to acknowledge his strengths and weaknesses. Katsuki gritted his teeth, because he hated to think that he would probably be a bully if he had met Izuku as a kid. I think that's probably why I started taking notes on other people's quirks. It was kind of a way to still be included in the quirks world, I guess. The woman commented, oblivious of Katsuki's dilemma. Well, but children. They didn't want to have nothing to do with me. Being quirkless was more like a contagious disease than a condition for them. Xiaochen, he was the only one who didn't care about it. Todoroki? She nodded. Actually, Xiaochen didn't care about anything back then. He had a stick up his ass, and I had to punch him to get my point across. Izuku huffed at the memory. He had everything that I wanted, but he wasn't happy. I was really pissed off. I bet that he deserved it. Probably. Izuku agreed. But he had his reasons too. In the end, we became friends, the first friend for one another. The boy who had everything and the girl who had nothing. That's what some people used to say. That's wrong? Yeah, it is. But no one really knew what was going on in our lives. But becoming friends with Xiaochen was probably the best thing that happened to me. Katsuki didn't say anything, but he couldn't stop the frown on his face. Was he jealous of half and half bastard? Yes. Would he admit it? Never. He was the first person that I told about the whole quirkless stuff. And do you want to know what he told me? She said. But it was a rhetorical question. He said that I could be a hero, that I would find a way to be one, and prove to everyone and myself that being quirkless wasn't a disadvantage or whatever. And Izuku finally looked up to stare at his red eyes. Her green eyes were glassy. She was barely holding back tears. Her shoulders were trembling. And Katsuki really wanted to hold her. But no, she was still telling him about a matter really important for her. Who was he to stop her now? And I found a way. I don't have a quirk like Recovery Girl. But being a doctor was a way to save people because it didn't depend just on quirks, but also abilities. So it was the way that I found to help people and the heroes that I have always admired. But, Katsuki asked, because he was sure that there was something else. She laughed, a dry and humorless laugh again. It didn't match Midoriya Izuku at all. But the thing is, I reached where I wanted to be. However, from time to time, some people make me remember that my condition is still not well accepted in this world. I was having a bad day, she said once, when they met at the supermarket for the first time. After hearing this story, the ash-blonde man wondered if that bad day had anything to do with stupid people and their fucking prejudice. That's why I unconsciously keep people at an arm's length. Sad green eyes were staring at him, and Katsuki felt like she was trying to apologize for something. Besides Shaochin, I never let people inside my heart because I was scared that once they found out that I am quirkless, they would leave me behind. My friendships and past boyfriends, all my relationships, platonic or not, were shallow. That's why they never last long, just because I didn't want to get hurt. And what's wrong with that? Katsuki muttered, a scowl on his face. He was angry, not at Deku, but at the whole situation. You are allowed to be scared. Fuck. I would be scared in your position. No one wants to get hurt. I know that. Deku almost choked on her words, but she still didn't look away from Katsuki's red eyes. Every single time that someone was coming closer to really get to know me, I ran away because I was scared. I couldn't believe in myself and in other people. Katsuki felt a lump on his throat. That conversation. He wasn't good at that kind of topic. He lost count of how many times he felt his anger skyrocket over the stories of dipshits being dipshits, and how his heart sank at seeing sad green eyes. But the way that the doctor was looking at him now, it felt different. But you know, Kaken? This time the greenette sounded confident, even if a few tears were falling from green eyes. I am done with running away. What changed? He asked, overcoming the weird wave of feelings. You changed it. Katsuki's eyes widened. You changed it, Kaken. Deku smiled, a small smile playing at the corner of her lips. What? In all his life, Katsuki lost the capacity to think on just a few occasions, and all of them was when his stupid friends decided to make a competition of tequila shots, and his competitive stupid self would fall prey to his friends' schemes to drag him to the game. I bet that I can drink more than you, Bakugo, Siro would say with a sly smile. Bring it on, soy sauce face, Katsuki would answer without thinking twice. He felt stupid doing that, but he still took the bait every single time. Now, he could add another one, though the reason has nothing to do with drinking games at Kaminari and Siro's shared apartment. You changed it, Kaken, Deku said with a small smile. But before he could force himself to say something, anything, her phone started ringing, and she had to leave his apartment without eating the beef stew, or actually talk with Katsuki about whatever that meant. I'm sorry, Kaken. One of my patients really needs me. It was an emergency. He could understand it. We can talk about it another time, she said. And Katsuki just nodded dumbly. Midoriya Izuku was a doctor, a good doctor, and someone was in need of her help. Really? He could understand it. But still, it sucked. Fuck, he yelled when his face hit the cushions of his couch. Of all the times for an emergency, it had to be exactly at that moment. It did happen before. One of them had to leave in the middle of dinner because some fucking villain was attacking the city, or because the hospital needed assistance. But it really had to be when they were actually talking about whatever was happening between them. The ash-blonde man sighed and turned his body back to the couch and red eyes staring at the ceiling. Deku's story. It was a lot to process. She is quirkless. Not that it mattered in his opinion, but fuck. Didn't she suffer a lot because of this? For once he was glad that fucking Ice Hot was there for her. At least for a part of Deku's childhood. But still, the motherfuckers really did a number on her self-esteem if she thought that she couldn't trust people with that information, that everyone would reject or look at her with different eyes if they knew about it. Now that he stopped to actually think about it. Deku has always asked stuff about him and his friends' quirks, but she never said a word about herself. Or if Katsuki tried to ask something about her, Deku would always give short answers that sounded kind of practiced answers, and change the subject. He should have noticed it. He should have noticed that something was off. But he convinced himself at some point that Deku was avoiding specific topics because she didn't feel comfortable sharing it with him. You changed it, Kaken. But she said that he changed it. What exactly did he change? When did these changes start? Why him? The hero groaned, because he kind of had a theory of what was happening. But he didn't want to entertain an idea, and in the end be wrong about it. Fuck you, universe, Katsuki hissed, pointing a finger at the ceiling, irritated that he will have to wait another opportunity to talk about what? Feelings? About life? About their weird relationship. What the fuck did I do to you? He heard a ping. It was a notification that he got a text message. Taking his phone from his pants pocket, he looked at the name of who was texting him. Katsuki almost dropped the phone. Fucking universe. Should he hate the universe or not? Deku. I already took an Uber. Sorry for leaving like that. 9:31 p.m. Deku. I really wanted to eat the beef stew. 9:31 p.m. Katsuki replied immediately. Katsuki. Not your fucking fault. 9:31 p.m. Katsuki. I can make it again. 9:31 p.m. Deku. Thanks. 9:32 p.m. And for the next few moments Katsuki saw the small bubbles appear and disappear, signaling that Deku was writing and rewriting something. Usually that would have pissed him off, and he would send a text like, "Get straight to the point," or something on those lines, but less politely. But now, after their conversation, he could just wait. Deku. About today, sorry, I said a lot. 9:35 p.m. Deku. But I really wanted to tell you that. 9:35 p.m. Deku. And I still have things to tell you. 9:35 p.m. Deku. Can we talk again? 9:36 p.m. Fucking Deku. Even by text. Why does she still sound like a kicked puppy asking people to bring her home? Katsuki. Sure. Next week? 9:36 p.m. He wasn't sure if he could survive another week with those thoughts in his head. But what was he supposed to say? Deku. I was wondering if you... Are you still free on Xmas? 9:37 p.m. The man stared at the phone screen, reading the last message a few times just to make sure that he was reading it correctly. Christmas. December 25th. The day after tomorrow. 2 days for now. Deku. Sorry, Kaken. We can talk next week if you prefer. 9:40 p.m. Katsuki. Xmas is fine. 9:40 p.m. He never typed so fast in his life. No way in hell that he will wait another week to have this conversation. Deku. So, 8 p.m. at my apartment. 9:41 p.m. Katsuki. Got it. 9:41 p.m. Katsuki paused. Katsuki. Hey. 9:41 p.m. Deku. Yes. 9:41 p.m. Katsuki. What should I call you now? 9:41 p.m. Deku. Deku is fine. 9:41 p.m. Katsuki. You sure? 9:42 p.m. Deku. Do you want me to call you Bakugo? 9:42 p.m. Katsuki. Hell no. That's fucking weird. 9:42 p.m. Deku. I know. 9:42 p.m. Deku. If you call me Midoriya next time, I'm gonna put you in the psychiatric area of the hospital. 9:43 p.m. Katsuki. Fuck you. 9:43 p.m. Deku. See you Kaken. Good night. 9:43 p.m. Katsuki. G night Deku. 9:44 p.m. Okay, so maybe, just maybe things shouldn't be so bad after all. The next day, he was paired with Kirishima to patrol the area. It was cold, and not even his winter hero uniform was enough to keep him warm. He didn't hate the cold, but it was a fucking drawback considering that his quirk was a heat-induced type. Katsuki looked at his partner. As always, Kirishima was just wearing a coat over his usual hero uniform. Didn't shitty hair feel cold dressed in basically nothing? The city was lively. High schoolers cheering here and there, probably getting to a restaurant or karaoke to party with friends. A lot of shops trying to promote their products, for those people walking around buying presents. And some couples were out on dates. Oh yeah, right. Katsuki also had someone to meet now. I'm not going to the party, he announced out of nowhere. What? Kirishima exclaimed, turning his head to look at the ash blonde. Why? Mina even ordered those super spicy chicken that only you can eat. Katsuki rolled his eyes. I am meeting Deku tomorrow. And if Kirishima wasn't loud before, he sure was now. What? Shut the fuck up, shitty hair. People were looking at them. But at this point at his career, the citizens knew that Ground Zero was loud. Not that Katsuki cared, but they were probably surprised that Red Riot was the one who raised his voice first. Bro, Izuku was looking at him with tears in his eyes. Disgusting. I knew that was some kind of misunderstanding. No way that Midoriya wasn't interested in you. Can't you just shut up? Katsuki hissed, but in the end sighed. It's not a real date or whatever you are imagining. How? You are going out with her on Christmas. Of course, it's a date, Bakugo. No, it's not. We are meeting at her apartment to talk about. How should Katsuki explain the conversation from the night before? Stuff. We were kind of having a heart-to-heart talk last night. But Deku had to go back to the hospital in the middle of the conversation. So we decided to continue tomorrow. That's all. A heart-to-heart conversation? Kirishima arched an eyebrow. Doesn't that mean that you were finally talking about your relationship? I don't know, okay? The other pro hero replied. It was fucking personal. Shit. If she continues talking about that, I don't even know what I am supposed to say. Look, dude. Kirishima stopped walking and put a hand on Katsuki's shoulder, a reassuring smile on his lips. If Midoriya decided to talk things with you, it's not because she wants you to say nice stuff. If she really knows you, she knows that you are emotionally constipated and can't say a single phrase without cursing to save your life. Are you even trying to help now? Katsuki frowned, red eyes glaring at his best friend. What I mean is, she doesn't want your pity or nice words. Hell, that's probably the last thing that she wants from you. Midoriya just wants you to hear her out. The red-haired man continued. She wants to open up to you because she believes and trusts you. And how do you know that? And it was a valid question, because if Kirishima was wrong and Deku was waiting for someone capable of comforting her, this would be a problem. Katsuki was horrible with words, probably worse than Todoroki. You said that she doesn't like to talk about herself. So if she decided to do it now, isn't it because she really wants to? But of course I could be wrong since it's based on gut feeling and second-hand information. Oi, shitty hair, are you fucking kidding me? Come on, Bakugo, you know her better than me. Do you really think that I am wrong? Judging from all their conversation from the night before, no. He didn't think that Kirishima was completely wrong. Don't jump to conclusions, and just hear her out until the end. Kirishima's expression softened while saying that. Maybe something really good will come out of all this situation. Like? This time the red-haired hero walked away a few steps, making Katsuki arched an eyebrow. It was like Kirishima was trying to gain some space before saying something. You get a girlfriend and finally break the dry spell. It took a second for Katsuki's brain to understand what Kirishima was talking about. Girlfriend. Dry spell. The ash-blonde man blushed, feeling embarrassed and angry at the same time. Fuck her, he yelled. But Kirishima was already a block away, laughing. You are dead when I get my hands on you, shitty hair. How are you feeling today, Eri-chan? Dr. Midoriya. A long gray-haired girl with red eyes looked up at the woman who was entering the hospital room. I am sorry for yesterday. Oh no, dear. Izuku said, approaching the 7-year-old girl and sitting at the chair beside the bed. Don't say sorry because that's not your fault. But, Eri exclaimed, trying to sit. Your quirk is too powerful for you right now. Your body can't handle it very well yet, so it's normal that you will get sick. The doctor explained, holding the small kid's shoulders and forcing her to lay again. And I know that you tried your best yesterday, because you got a really high fever trying to hold back your quirk. My quirk is dangerous, Eri said, red eyes tearing up. No, Eri-chan. Your quirk is amazing and beautiful. The brunette smiled, patting the small girl on the head. I am sure that you are going to help a lot of people with it in the future. Do you think so? I am sure, Izuku proclaimed. And you have a lot of people who are going to help you. Lemillion, Eraserhead, and Sir Nightai. They all wanted to help you. That's why they brought you here, to make sure that you are going to be healthy really soon. Are you going to help me too? Eri asked, staring at Izuku's green eyes. Of course I will. She answered softly, caressing Eri's long gray hair. So let's rest for now, okay? Eri nodded, red eyes slowly closing. Dr. Midoriya, the girl murmured sleepily. I am sleepy. Is that your quirk? Do you make people sleepy? Izuku's eyes went wild, surprised by the question. If Eri had asked that a few days ago, Izuku would have flinched, smiled, and lied, changing subjects so she didn't have to answer that question. But today's Midoriya Izuku was different. No, Eri-chan, it's not my quirk. The doctor said truthfully, I actually don't have a quirk. Really? She was almost sleeping. But still, it's nice. I feel really sleepy right now. And Izuku smiled when Eri's words faded, giving space for a soft breath instead. Thank you, Eri-chan. The doctor whispered, patting her head one last time before leaving the room and closing the door behind her. How is Eri-chan? Blonde hair, dark blue eyes, a cartoon-like face, tall and muscular. His voice was gentle and loud at the same time. And even if the pro hero was out of his uniform, it was impossible to not recognize him. Lemillion-san, Izuku greeted. It's good to see you. The man laughed. I am not wearing a suit. I'm just a Mirio right now, Dr. Midoriya. But you still came to the hospital. The woman said with a smile. I'm glad to see you here as your civilian self and not the hero. I really care for Eri-chan, on or off duty. He commented, good-natured as always. How is she? She is fine now, Izuku replied, switching her expression and voice for a more professional one. Last night her quirk almost got out of control. It hadn't happened in a while. Mirio frowned, clearly worried at the sudden change. Years of abuse can't be erased from her memories in a short period of time. So I guess that a nightmare triggered the episode. However, once she understood that she wasn't in danger, she tried to hold back her quirk, and it made her get a fever. The doctor continued. Quirks are still physical abilities, so it took a tool in Eri-chan's body at the moment that it started to get out of control, and at the moment that she tried forcefully repress it. Does Eraserhead know about this? Yes, he was informed the moment that it happened. But by the time that he got here last night, Eri-chan was already sleeping again. The blonde man sighed. It's been 2 months since she came here. We really thought that she would be okay. We should have let Aizawa-san stay with her longer. Tagada-san, Izuku called, voice gentle. No one could predict what happened yesterday, and Eraserhead can't stay beside her 24/7. He has his duties too. Also, it's my duty, and the hospital duty to take care of her now. If it ever happens again, we are going to figure things out. Green eyes turned to look at the door for the small girl's room. A smile formed on her lips. And as you can see, Eri-chan is not weak. She didn't lose, not even for herself. That made the man laugh. You're right. Eri-chan is not weak. She never was. Glad that you know. The doctor said, amused. And we are glad that she is making progress. 2 pairs of eyes turned to look at the end of the hall, where Eraserhead just turned the corner. Wearing his usual black hero uniform, the capture tool around his neck, and black eyes looking tired as always. The oldest man approached Lemillion and Izuku. Oh, Aizawa-san, Miria waved at the hero. I am on duty, kid. Good morning, Eraserhead. Izuku bowed respectfully. Thank you for coming last night. The man shrugged, but Izuku smiled, because she knew by Aizawa Shota's expression the night before that yes, he cared for Erase more than he wanted to let it out. How is the kid? He asked monotonously. Exhausted, but she is fine. The green-haired woman replied. Eri-chan just needs some rest, and she will make a full recovery in a few days. Eraserhead nodded, relieved that the small girl was okay. But even after hearing the good news, his expression still had an edge on it. What is wrong? The blonde hero was the one to break the silence, trained eyes staring at the hero and Yua teacher. Did something else happen? No, nothing happened. The dark-haired man answered, a frown appearing in his features. And that's the problem. We still can't find Chisaki Kai. The doctor looked again at the direction of Eri's room. 2 months ago, Eraserhead arrived at the hospital together with Lemillion and Sir Nightai, carrying a really sick and injured little girl. Eri. No surname, just Eri. Eri was rescued during an ambush in the Shai Hasakai headquarters, a Yakuza group that 3 hero agencies Fatgum, Sir Nightai and Rukyu's agencies were investigating, with the assistance of other heroes like Eraserhead himself. They were responsible for a drug capable of erasing quirks, or so the press divulged, after they got their hands on information of cases of people and even pro-heroes having their quirks erased for a few hours. A lot of villains and members of the Yakuza were captured, but the boss, Chisaki Kai, disappeared in the middle of the chaos, with nothing but a handbag-sized case. They couldn't give her a lot of information, just what the press had already released about a still-open case involving the Yakuza. No one ever told Izuku why the little girl was injured, so she decided to stick with abuse, years of it. And she wasn't wrong judging by the recent cuts, mark of needles and old scars marring Eri's arms and legs. It was definitely abuse, but Izuku knew that that was more to the story. It looked like someone was experimenting with the kid. It was disgusting to imagine that there were people out there who would hurt such a small and sweet child like Eri. It's been 2 months since the arrests. I don't think that Chisaki would make a move so soon, not without backup. Mirio stated, a serious expression on his face. He lost everything, the headquarters, his men, and Eri. Izuku side-eyed Lemillion. Something about that statement was disturbing. That's why we need to find him soon. Eraserhead sighed, and that really made the woman worry, because if the always cool Aizawa Shota was starting to get impatient, things were probably bad. People say that there is nothing more dangerous than a wounded hero. But the other way around, it's also true. Chisaki Kai lost everything. What else was there to lose? Nothing. A cornered villain is as dangerous as a wounded hero. And what does it have to do with Eri-chan? Izuku finally interjected, green eyes daring the heroes to lie. If Chisaki is still out there trying to find a way to get Eri-chan, I have to know. She is my patient, and her safety is also my responsibility in the hospitals. I'm sorry, Dr. Midoriya, but this is classified information, the blonde hero said to the green-haired woman who just narrowed her eyes at him. But you don't have to worry about Eri-chan's safety. There are a lot of pro-heroes patrolling this area. Chisaki can't come near. Also, the hospital knows to some extent that they are housing someone that may become a target. That's why the security has been tightened. True. Izuku saw that some extra security had been hired in the last 2 months. But still, heroes are still humans, and humans make mistakes. Izuku rebutted stubbornly. What are you going to do if Chisaki actually comes here? He won't. Aren't you the one who said that Chisaki doesn't have anything else to lose? Eraserhead. She knew that she was being rude now, but Izuku refused to let things go. Not when the life of a child was in danger. Why is Eri-chan still a target for Chisaki? Why would he risk everything to get her? Lemillion and Eraserhead looked at each other for a few seconds, before Aizawa sighed and Mirio ran a hand over his hair. Are you always this damn stubborn, Midoriya? The older man asked, looking more tired than when he arrived a few minutes ago. I get that a lot. Mirio laughed. We can't tell you classified information, the blonde started, which made the doctor glare at him. But I guess that if you overheard a conversation about it between Eraserhead and I, there's nothing that we can do about it, right? After all, we are still humans. Izuku blinked a couple times, but as soon as Lemillion's words finally registered in her brain, the doctor couldn't hold an amused smile. Sure. It is a lot to digest. Izuku's thoughts keep drifting to the conversation between Eraserhead and Lemillion, the one that she accidentally eavesdropped on. The press knew just a small part of the story about the Shy Hasakai's case. All that the public knew was that they were a Yakuza group conducting illegal transactions with other villains, selling drugs and weapons, even drugs that can erase a quirk. They didn't know that the Yakuza group new boss, Chisaki Kai, killed the former boss and usurped his place. They didn't know that Chisaki Kai was a genius scientist, judging by all the medical equipment that they found at the headquarters. They didn't know that Chisaki Kai was conducting experiments with a little girl called Aria, the former boss' granddaughter, because her quirk was the key to create a drug capable of erase a quirk temporarily. And they didn't know that each drug created had the DNA of said child mixed in. The green-haired doctor sighed and slumped on the chair at the women's locker room in the hospital. Katsuki was probably rubbing on her, because, what the fuck? What kind of monster would do it? A monster with nothing to lose. She remembers herself. Chisaki was probably waiting for a breach to try and get Eri again. There was a lot happening at the same time in both, at her work and at her personal life. Ugh, and put a lot in that. Green eyes stared at the bright screen of her smartphone. December 24th. Tomorrow, Izuku muttered. Because on the next day, she would get an answer for her own feelings too.